To record. Let's see. It is in five, four, three, two, and one. We are back here at the Adventures Guide to the Galaxy, YouTube and Odyssey. We're back again with Daryl Guberman, very good friend of mine. For years, we've been kicking ass. So now we have a video here today. Recently, a lot of people have been worried about China. As on my TV right here, I'm watching NHK World. They have, Xi Jinping just got his third term as president of China. Today, everyone's clapping because they have the
Brighton, are they using the Dominion voting machines?
No, they just literally tell everyone do as I say, or you might get smacked in the back of the head.
Oh, I think they did that here, but we have the falsity of
Yeah, it's
fooling
just same thing
clever.
with extra steps, right? It's just
Yeah,
extra
sorry,
steps.
sorry,
So
Ghana.
today, so today we have a video about Mr. Christopher Wray when he makes comments about TikTok is dangerous for America, which I mean that is true because it is really goofy and ridiculous, but he's being very disingenuous about it. He's saying, oh, they've infiltrated, they're doing this and they're doing that. I mean, infiltrated. I mean, this guy was literally pulling the chain, letting the drawbridge down, and going like this, "Come on in!" Like that. That's who he is. But a lot of people in America don't know this because they'll watch TV and they'll watch like the fake back and forth. Oh, I'm this congressman. I'm this guy. Oh, yeah. But again, when the cameras are off, you see them hanging out in the limousine. They had one big drink and they were both with two straws sipping out of it. China and Christopher Wray. So, without more than that, we're gonna demonstrate that in a more literal sense with Daryl Goopman here, and he's gonna check us out with some
Well,
really good information.
I thank you, Brian. And this video, basic title is FBI Director's Christopher Wray's thoughts on China and China's thoughts on Christopher Wray. Now, mind you, that the FBI sits on the American National Standards Institute, okay? And the American National Standards Institute took over the American National Crediting Board. But you really don't pay attention to that as a matter of fact, but there's a part of it. ANSI's board, okay, is made up of federal agencies and corporations. Federal agencies like the FDA, the USDA, the FBI. You have NIH, CDC, FTC. You have a EPA. You have you have all of these federal agencies. Then you look at the corporations like Boeing. You have Pfizer. You have Johnson Johnson. You have Huawei, which is a known company, a Chinese company that has taken a lot of data and a lot of underhanded deals concerning China. Chinese Article number 7, China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7, which mandates espionage. But this is what Christopher Wray said. These are only excerpts. So Christopher Wray said, Brighton, he said, Christopher Wray, FBI, says the whole of the Chinese society is a threat to the U.S. and that Americans must step up to defend themselves. FBI Director Christopher Wray says Chinese espionage poses most severe threat to American security. FBI Director Christopher Wray making his mark as a loud and insistent China critic. China determined to steal up economic ladder at U.S. expense. FBI Director Christopher Wray says head of America's principal federal law enforcement agency calls intelligence threat posed by China broader and more severe than any other country. Well, I'd like to say something about this mess. Christopher Wray is holding his pom pom in his hand, yelling about China and TikTok and all that. But you have the full representation, and many of them around the country, but I'm giving it because I live in Connecticut, right? You have Rosa DeLauro, Chris Murphy, Jim Himes, and Richard Blumenthal in 2015 praise Lockheed Martin, okay, for working with an international regulator, Communist China, okay, and they were, it says that in the article, it says Connecticut lawmakers praise Lockheed Martin for working with an international regulator. You have the four, you know, representatives in Connecticut cheering on the fact of communist China, when in fact they got some of their data taken. I think they got hacked this morning. Was that? Did you hear about that, Brian?
I didn't hear about it yet, but you were mentioning that. I wouldn't be surprised. They pretty much are running all their servers and all their information through probably Amazon or something like that, and then
No,
through some other company that's just completely just handing over their data, as you were saying, right?
the FBI has gotten hacked many, many, many times. We're not secure. We're less secure today than we were probably 20 years ago. It's really bad. And the thing about it is, I think Christopher Wray and Xi Jinping smoke cigars and sip on some champagne because you listen to what the Chinese say about Christopher Wray.
Yeah, let's
Vulgar,
see what they say.
vulgar, arrogant, mentally challenged, a lowlife. Asked Chinese state media for an assessment of U.S. Bureau of Investigation Director Christopher Wray, and the response will be less than flattering. People like Wray emanate the kind of vulgarity shown by history's career lowlifes. The vulgarity floods the U.S. administration today. And the the most disgusting thing, as I told you, is the FBI sits on ANSI's board. And as I said, ANSI and ANAB both sat between 2015 and 2021 on the IAF, which was controlled by Zhao Jinwu, a communist Chinese national who's been involved with our quality since 1994. I've showed many pictures in my videos concerning him and how he went over to Wuhan, China, and certified the Bio Level 4 laboratory as the China National Accreditation Services chief executive. He was also at the time the chairman of the International Accreditation Forum Incorporated in Delaware, where ANSI ANAB are underwriters for that organization, the IAF, which means that they are liable. So we're going to bring out Christopher Wray.
Oh yeah, how's he doing?
Christopher Wray is doing good. Here he is. He just gave on the 15th of November 2022 a deposition concerning TikTok, concerning the factor of China. And this is what he said. He says the whole of the Chinese society is a threat to the U.S. and that Americans must step up to defend themselves. And let's face facts. It is not the people as much as it's the politicians, just like here. And by him saying that, by those statements that he said about China, by China saying that he's vulgar, he's, mentally challenged, all the rest of this stuff. Well, I guess after he gets done with the deposition, this is what he turns out to be, a clown, because the FBI has been tainted. It's had Chinese infiltration. It's was watched over by China between 2015 and 2021. And I think for the spectators, Bright, I think this should really illuminate them to Christopher Wray. Um, I, I think what the Chinese have been saying about him and what he says about China, it's a symbiotic relationship. They have to keep tension between the masses to make us think that there's a problem. But I'm sure behind closed doors, just like I'm sure with Anthony Fauci and Rand Paul, I'm sure they're drinking champagne and having caviar as we're doing this video this evening.
Oh, of course, and a lot of people are wondering, how is this possible? How could they do this? Well, like I said, Christopher Wray goes over to the Davos 2023, the World Economic Forum, and they're deciding how we're going to have America, we're going to help them, go down and be terrible so that all countries can be third world and we can just have everything and we can laugh at all the poor people. But we have to keep it up as like some kind of back and forth so that they think there's this fake left and right back and forth, and it's like it's a big club and you ain't in it, as George Carlin would say,
But you
and
know
a lot of
something,
people are figuring it out.
right? You know what the sad part is? The sad part is that when I was in high school in the 80s, they used to say that Russia is a world power, just like they do with China. Now, China reminds me of Japan back in the 60s and 70s. They used to, be very good copiers. Technologically, they were very good copiers of products that were designed in America. But what happened is it waned. It's bad. Sony and JVC is bad when it's being sold at Walmart. Most of the electronic stuff that I've got at Walmart, you had to bring back in about 30 days because it stopped working on you.
Yeah, that's
So
like I said, they're mass producing everything. They're doing all types of, like I said, the quality has went down because they can't keep up with all the other, the low quality, high volume stuff coming out of all different types of places now, run by China, and they have plants and places in different countries, and they bring their own slave labor when they show up and mass produce stuff, and then they out like in Africa, they outdo all the native populations. They bring in their own slaves, and then all the people who live there are like, damn, we can't even work on our own stuff. We can't even be enslaved on our own continent because they don't even want us no more. They're
it,
just
it,
damn.
it's just terrible. But they talk about Russia. Russia is a third world nation. They're fighting. They're throwing everything at Ukraine, and Ukraine isn't faltering. You look at China. China outbuilt us with it militarily, and they're building weapons that were probably, well, as a buddy of mine, Rich said, 50 years in quality. Actually 40 years in quality. I've known him for 50 years. He said, Daryl, it's not stealing, it's giving our data away. And you have all these alliances with universities, top-notch universities in the United States. Hey, they're getting $10 million, $20 million, $30 million. Let me have a piece of paper. Um, there's a lot of bad things happening, and we have to expose them. It's like, look at us. They say that we're the greatest country in the world, yet we couldn't keep toilet paper on the shelf. That's, to me, is
Yeah, we couldn't figure out how, the greatest country in the world, but yeah, you couldn't figure out how they were gonna,
yeah,
really. They won't even ask the question, where did the thing come from? Did it escape from the laboratory? They said no, it was a guy who ate a bat. I'm like, well, that's kind of messed up because I'm pretty sure they've been eating bats for a while. So all
yeah.
of a sudden,
But the kicker, Brian, back between 2012 and 13, during the Obama administration, the Pentagon, who also sits on ANSI's board, signed a waiver for communist China to build these specialized magnets for the landing gear doors and also computer systems. So how did the Chinese build them? I'm sure that they were given the blueprints for the darn F-35.
well, yeah, they have to know. I remember that because I remember thinking, because they canceled another project that Marines really wanted. They're like, hey, Marines, we're gonna do the F-35, and we were like, nobody gives a damn about the F-35. We want new tanks. We don't because the little boats we had now, the AAVs, the little floating tanks, they sink all the time. Like, dude, we had a new plan, new AAVs. Like, no, scrap that. We don't care if you guys keep falling and dying. We're gonna do the F-35, and then they're like, let's not have it run correctly because we want extra overruns and cost overruns and trillions and trillions of dollars. And it's like, dude, it'd be great if it worked, but I mean, come on, like
You
you're
know,
asking the people you're claiming you want us to go to war with to build the things that we're going to come get them with, and then you're like, oh, they would just press a button and make it fall out of the sky. Like, come, like people don't think about this stuff, but it's like,
there it goes, of nanotechnology that they can build into those magnets, and they can do a lot of things. And it's just, in fact, just a segue, just slightly off this Christopher Wray deal, is that there was an article that was written about the 800 F-35s that have habitual quality issues that could cause loss of aircraft and loss of pilot. And they were writing on the 801st aircraft, they still have not gotten the gremlins out of the system. I don't think Lockheed wants them. They also sit on ANSI's board.
they're making too much money.
Anything that ANSI ANAB touches is failure. And I have all the documentation, failure. In fact, do you see this up here? Do you see? Or is it too? No, yeah, you see half a dozen.
I can see it perfectly. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I had a chairman, Russ Cheney, call me up on the phone and leave me that. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can. Let's see. I have
cue it up.
I want to cue it up, and I want to let you listen. This guy, at the time, he said this word to me because I exposed an impropriety with laboratory accreditation, because I already knew about Wuhan, China, and Pamela Sale, who said that from one laboratory to another, they don't have any protocols. This is what Russ Cheney said to me, okay, on an audio file. Now, oh. And I went down there and I picketed them. Who was there? The FBI was walking around me. The Secret Service came up to me, and the police came up to me. But 3 weeks beforehand, Brian, I had already taken care of all that information about, even though we're in America, you're in a strange country by going into another state or another area.
Yeah, they make it that way on purpose, so you're afraid to go and take care of any issues that you have.
We ought to do that. Talk about ANSI and how bad they are with voluntary consensus standards. And Joe Battia, the CEO, didn't do anything. When I wrote them that letter, and I told them I want an apology, and they never wrote back. And the lawyer said to me in a letter saying, I didn't hear anything. Now you blatantly hear him say, Cheney say, have a nut, fuck you. That's craziness. But I
He's
think
got
what
another for everybody watching. He has another video. You could hear it better because it's a little bit difficult to hear it because of the
yes,
speaker to speaker. But
yeah.
he's got the video. I've heard it like at least a couple hundred times. That's definitely what he says because he's mad that he exposed him when he called him and left that message. So it's
Oh
very
yeah,
funny.
bad. But anyway, I think that's it for Christopher Wray. They see what Christopher Wray is. We've got a there. That's another federal agency that needs an enema. Although with Christopher Wray, where the heck did he? It looks like he already had the enema. It doesn't look
Oh yeah, took a couple inches off him too.
like.
Had a lot in there.
Listen, we'll talk with you later, Brighton. It's been a pleasure chatting with you again, as
Yes,
always.
definitely. It's my friend Daryl Goodman. I have his channel link below, and definitely let everybody know where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me at, you can call me, 203-556-1493. If you want any type of information, we have it. The degradation of quality is ever present. And I will tell you, for those people who took the injection, I'm going to segue. Pfizer and Johnson both sit on the American National Standards Institute over by NIH and CDC, USDA, and also the FDA. And Pfizer skipped quality processes and standards. 15 million vials of COVID got returned, Bright. And you have the factor that you have Johnson 60 million vials, but you skipping quality standards and processes. And in the medical arena, because I was in medical, in hip, in implants and medical materials,
Yes.
in medications, because I dealt, in labeling, as well. And in medications, sometimes they don't find out there's been a problem until a person gets sick out there and or dies from this. So we can just imagine what happened with Pfizer and Johnson with this mess. But I'm going to leave it there. Also, my email address is Daryl, DARYL, TQRS@yahoo.com. And I thank you, Bright.
Sorry, you can say the email one more time. It glitched out right there.
It's Daryl, DARYL, TQRS@yahoo.com.
All right. Thank you very much, Daryl. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Definitely like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below to help us beat the algorithm because these people are mad. And we'll definitely see you next time on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute. See you later.
Bye-bye.